Hi everyone, it's Ileana. I have a card to share with you today. I will be using a Stampin' Up! Stamp set that a friend gave me. It is the Stamp-A-Bag, and I'm using the one border stamp to make the entire background. First, I'm stamping the background or the border stamp onto my grid paper, and it's not quite straight, so I repositioned it and I'm going to stamp it again. Each one of those circles, the widest part of the circle is 3 grid squares tall, and so I'm trying to make sure that each one of the circles is perfectly lined up with the squares on the grid paper. I'm just inking out my stamp with some paper tray ink, Hawaiian Shores, and now that I have got it straight, what I'm doing is I'm using my little grid to just find the center of the circles, and you'll see why in just a second. I'm going to be using this guideline to help line up for my stamping. And so what I'm doing now is I am finding the center of the furthest circle, and I'm going to mark where that is because that is the important part of lining things up. I'm measuring how far from the edge of where the cardstock is going to rest to where that mark is, and that's where I'm going to trim my paper. And the reason why I'm doing that is because just to get everything lined up, I need the thickest part of the circle. If it's not at that point, then it's going to be hard to line up where my stamping is going to be. So now that I've got that all straightened out, you'll see that the paper goes right on that center part of that last circle. And now I'm going to start inking, and I'm not going to double stamp anything, because if I double stamp one, then I have to double stamp everything because the ink will look darker. So I'm just going to stamp it one time no matter what it looks like. And I'm just sliding my paper so that the bottom of the circle matches with the top of the circle that's on the grid paper below, and then that way I know all my circles will be lined up. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to stamp the opposite direction, but I want to make sure that I'm going to have enough for a card front. And the reason why I made it this wide is because I want the pattern on my front of my card to be equal on both sides. So what I'm doing now is I am marking the center of this row, and I'm going to use that as my guide to trim my paper. And the reason why I need the cut to be right in the middle of the circle is because I'm going to use that gap as my measurement, and I'm marking the center of the circles on the vertical way, just so that I could trim it also to see where the center of that row of circles is. In the end, you'll see the method to my madness here. So I'm just lining up those little pencil marks with the blade of my trimmer. Now that I have everything trimmed up, I am going to try to marry the center of the gap to the center of the circle, and then that's going to get the pattern that I want. And so I'm trying to see if I need to trim my paper a little bit more, and I'm going to double check my lines to make sure that I have the center of the gap. And once I get that all figured out, then I could just butt my paper up against the side of the MISTI and just keep stamping, instead of having to worry about whether my paper is straight going up and down. It'll be resting against the side of the MISTI. And there is a lot of measuring on this card, and I apologize for that, but I wanted to make some kind of card with the stamp set my friend gave me so that I could send it to her as a thank you. And now that I have everything figured out, now I'm going to do a a test run, and what I end up doing is where the two circles on the edge are, that's where that pencil line on the grid paper needs to go. And so I'm double checking to see where I am um, with my pattern, and I think I'm okay, and so I'm going to stamp one time. And it's going to be off just a little bit, but I stamped enough pattern to correct my my stamping. And so you can see that part of the pattern isn't exactly centered. And so here I'm going to check, and then I realize that, oh, it's not exactly straight. And so I'm going to trim one more time. It just needs to be just a little bit of a trim, and I'm going to try it again. And so now it seems to be just right. And so this is where I'm just going to just whiz right through the pattern. And so I'm just going to keep pushing the paper up, and like I said before, I'm lining up that pencil line that's on the grid paper to the space between the two circles, and then you should get a perfect pattern. And so now I'm on the last one, and what I end up doing is I take the largest rectangle from the lawn fawn set that I used so much, and I'm just trying to cut the pattern so that it is equal on both sides. And so now that I've done that, I can put that on the top, on the front of my card. And so I'm using the hand lettered Winter Wishes to add my sentiment to the bottom right corner. I really love the hand lettered font that's used on this, and I hope that Simon comes out with a few more sentiment stamp sets with a bold hand lettered look. I'm using the VersaFine Black Onyx ink because I want to emboss my sentiment, and I want that bold, crisp look with the black. I'm just using my absorber cloth to clean off my stamp. That is the little car chamois that you use to dry off your car. So I just cut it up into little pieces, and it cleans off your stamps, and it only uses water. So now I've heat embossed my sentiment, and my card just feels like it needs something, and so I just take a very fine point tip pen, and I just kind of trace over the stitch lines that are on the card. And then what I'll do is I'll put it on the front of my card, and there's a tiny bit of an overhang, so I'm just going to use my craft knife to trim off that little bit of an overhang. And that is my card. And I just, I really do like it, and I thank my friend Lydia for sending me the stamp set. And I'm sorry if it was a little complicated to get this card done, but it was actually, I really enjoyed the pattern. Thanks for watching.